We'd like you to join us for a quick talk about the top 6 exotic sports cars you can buy for $100,000 or less. Join along. Thanks. So firstly, we'd like to point out, not necessarily in this order, we do have the top 6 choices for ExoticCar PlayPlace's favorite exotic sports cars available on the used car market for less than $100,000. Number 1, and not necessarily in this order, the Ferrari 360 Spider. You can have these cars for anywhere from about $80,000 up to about $105,000 on today's market. With that, often you can find it either in an F1 transmission or a manual, a 400 horsepower, 276 pound-feet V8, numbers of 0 to 60 in around that 4.5 seconds. Certainly not a slow performer by any means, a little bit on the slower side compared to today's modern exotics, but still quite a contender. It was also improved upon on the maintenance aspect from previous cars like the 348 or the 355, where a lot of the work had to be done with belts and water pumps. Those kind of tasks usually had to result in the motor coming out of the car and therefore created larger repair bills. Along with that, if you really can save up, of course the more money generally gets you a newer car and a better car. If you can save up a little extra dollars, the 430 is on the cusp. The F430 is available. I've seen them as low as 95, generally high miles and kind of rough. So to get a nice car, a 430 wouldn't really be advised for under 100K, although they can be had. So that being said, again, a 360 is a great buy. Great performance, looks great, sounds great. And to be honest, one of the best sounding Ferraris this side of a 458 Italia. Number 2. Lamborghini Guyardo. Obviously this car here is a little bit kind of cruising on that fringe of affordability at $100,000. You can find 2004s, 2005s. Obviously at that price point you're probably going to get slightly higher Ks on an 04 or 05. 05 of course being the preferred because it's got the front nose lift. But nonetheless, otherwise for the most part the same car between the 2004 2005. It actually happened to be the first Lamborghini that featured 19-inch rims and definitely gave it kind of that more modern, stylish look. It also had a 500 horsepower V10 motor which sounded just phenomenal. And when fitted with some of the aftermarket exhaust systems like the Tubi, you could hear that thing for miles. It actually put out a close comparison to an F1 sounding car. Beautiful sounding car. They also featured all-wheel drive. Great in kind of medium weather conditions. Modern technology, because they got tagged in there with Audi, they obviously created a lot of great new features in what was considered kind of the older tech with the older Lamborghinis before that. With the newer Audi supported design, you know, it came with a aluminum space frame and the body consisted of aluminum and composite materials. So all in all, I would say under 100 grand, probably the sexiest exotic available. So number 3 on our list is the Lotus Exige S, 240 or 260. Now those ran from about 2009 to 2011 and featured about 257 horsepower in the 260. 0 to 60 in about 4 seconds flat. This car came with larger rear spoilers, extensive use of carbon fiber to drop the weight down to about 2,000, just over 2,000 pounds. And what would normally considered a meager 1.8 liters was coupled with a turbocharger, supercharging, and a 6-speed manual gearbox, created a real fast little steaming demon. So because this car kind of harkens back to the old lightweight, lower power cars that are more nimble, it is actually quite a blast to drive and really kind of takes you back to the early late 60s 911s and a lot of those earlier cars that had a punchy motor and lightweight. It actually created quite a fun little car to drive, and this again as a result is one of our favorite cars, the Lotus Exige S. You can find these cars all over the internet from anywhere from about 60,000 up to 80, 90, maybe more depending on the type of models if they're more of a unique special edition or one-off. So anyway, great cars. Have a closer look. The Lotus Exige S. Awesome machines. Car number 4 is one of ExoticCar PlayPlace's favorite exotics for under $100,000 on the used car market. Falls to the 2009 newer Porsche 911 Turbo with the PDK. That was the first year of the twin clutch and the PDK transmission. It also for the first time featured a 3.8 liter flat 6, up from the 3.6 liters the year before. They got a bump in horsepower, 20 horse up to 486 horsepower, again up about 20 horse. It also featured launch control, and with that launch control, when it was engaged, you could hit 0 to 60 miles per hour from a hard launch in about 3.4 seconds. Actually, some testers felt that they actually cracked the 3-second mark, closer to 2.8, 2.9 seconds with the PDK, and enough abuse. It also was able to attain a top speed of about 194 miles per hour, or about 312 kilometers an hour, and was an absolute rush. Up to about 60 miles an hour, even closer to 100 miles an hour, it actually kept its own with the Bugatti Veyron. Testers tried to beat on this car and hit with a number of hard launches, and were unable to break it, which is a testament to Porsche's engineering. Fast and aggressive, and certainly has a lot of style to go with it. So Porsche, good job on that 911 Turbo in 2009. Our 5th choice at ExoticCar PlayPlace, here for favorite exotic car under $100,000, falls to the Dodge Viper. It originally had an 8-liter V10 pumping out 400 horsepower, and was quite a handful in its day. It was certainly a brute right from day one with the huge torque band that car provided. Then second generation came out with an 8.3 liter V10, which then cranked out about 500 horse and was definitely a pretty substantial improvement, and those ran the course of about 2003 to 06. Now of course, if you hung on long enough and you saved a few more pennies, you might be able to get your hands on the 8.4 liter in the second phase too, and those ran from about 08 to 2010, and they pumped out about 600 horsepower. So what's not to like about monster power? You know, no frills for sure, but brutal torque. The fun factor is on closer to a 12 on a 1 to 10 scale. It didn't have great brakes. It also had a hot exhaust that would burn your legs when you tried to get out of the car, but that didn't matter. That was part of the point of this car. It was rude, crude, and stomp on anybody in its path. That's why we like the Viper. Now last, number 6 on our favorite top 6 exotic cars under $100,000 falls to the Porsche 930 Turbo. Now that car ran a course from about 76 to 77, where it featured a 3-liter flat 6 turbo non-intercooler small brakes. Then in 78, I ran the course to about 88. It was pretty much identical, minus a few minor cosmetic changes. It featured a 3.3 liter flat 6, larger cross-drilled ventilated disc brakes, oversized intercooler, and was definitely capable of some pretty substantial 0 to 60 numbers in shy of 5 seconds, quarter mile 13 seconds, and a top speed of almost 170 miles per hour. Was definitely a beast in its day, and still today is still a contender. That was all changed in 89 when they came out with the 5-speed. Still the 3.3 liter flat 6, but then they added a 5-speed gearbox from the 4-speed originally featured right up until 88, and including 88. So the 89 with the 5-speed definitely made the car a lot more drivable. That was always a little bit of a complaint by people talking about city driving. It became a kind of an awkward car to drive at low speeds, engaging and stop and go traffic. The 89 with the 5-speed, the gearing was a lot shorter and closer together, and it made it a lot less of a handful in traffic, and certainly helped acceleration, certainly at the bottom end. With that, you know, it's created quite a cult following, and as such, the prices on these 930s are going through the roof. And at this point in time, I would say you might find some under $100,000. Don't wait too long, because they're all headed way north of $100,000 the way I can see it. The nicer ones are certainly harder to find these days. especially original numbers matching cars that haven't been beat to death. So I would say try to get one while you can, if that is ever a consideration for you, if that's ever been one of those cars that you've wanted to get or it's a bucket list item. Definitely scoop it up. They won't last. So I hope that helps today, everybody. That basically rounds out our top 6 exotic sports cars on the used market for under $100,000. Now, that being said, we will feature another video with what you consider luxury borderline exotic cars for under $50,000. That video will be to follow. However, for now, I'd ask, please subscribe. We are going to be creating many more videos like this. If you subscribe, it kind of tells me that you're interested. I'll create more videos like this and in a lot more detail, and I will feature a lot more of these cars to come. Definitely some driving videos to follow as well, and some cool track videos too. Subscribe, like, comment. Thanks again for joining ExoticCar PlayPlace. See you again.